Welcome to a very special edition of TV on TV, the Election Night Results Show. I'm State Representative Tommy Vitolo. You're watching Brookline Interactive Group. Today is Tuesday, May 5th, 2026, and we have a great show for you. But before I tell you about it, if you haven't voted yet today, there is still time. Please get yourself to your polling location by 8 p.m. and cast your vote. If you don't know where your neighborhood votes, go to www.wheredoivotema.com to double check your polling location before you go. Don't dawdle. You have less than half an hour to get there. We've got a great show tonight focused entirely on today's town election and its results. Here on TV, we're going to tell you about the roles of local government, better understand municipal budgeting and Proposition 2.5, interview outgoing Select Board member Paul Warren, and then, finally, right here on Brookline Interactive, be the first to report the results of every single race in town and interview the winners of the Select Board race live via satellite. There can be no doubt that Brookline residents love our town and care about our governance. 118 Brookline citizens are running for local office today, all volunteering to ensure that our town government remains broad, inclusive, and democratic. 118 neighbors ready to serve. 104 positions will be filled, 11 town-wide and 93 within town meeting. 5 candidates are running both for a town-wide position and a town meeting seat. Advocacy groups leaned in as well. Some a half-century old, others an alphabet soup of constant reinvention. All had divergent, clear ideas about which clusters of candidates are essential for Brookline's success. In addition to our residents and our democracy, there are 3 clear winners this election cycle. The union print shops that manufactured all that literature, the United States Postal Service that delivered it, and Jonathan Klein, who ran both a town-wide campaign and a town meeting campaign, and somehow managed to be unopposed in both. Election Day is the most wonderful day of the year. Results won't be here for nearly a half hour. So let's cut to a primer on town government and learn about the different elected positions while enjoying the youthful glow that I once had. I'm State Representative Tommy Vitolo, and today we're going to talk about all of the elected positions in town government. Let's start inside Town Hall. The town clerk is elected to a 3-year term and serves several important roles for our town. The town clerk is the records keeper. The town clerk issues permits and licenses for things like dogs and marriages. The town clerk serves an administrative role on several boards and committees, including the Zoning Board of Appeal and town meeting. And perhaps most importantly for many of us, the town clerk manages our elections, not just the election in May, but every election we have in the town of Brookline. The Brookline Select Board are the leaders of the executive branch of town government. There are 5 Select Board members, each elected to offsetting 3-year terms. The Select Board is responsible for the hiring and firing of the town administrator and department heads, the execution of contracts, the appointment of members to boards, committees, and commissions, and the approval of a variety of licenses, such as the common victualer's license. As the name suggests, the Brookline School Committee is responsible for the Brookline Public Schools. Made up of 9 members elected to offsetting 3-year terms, the school committee is responsible for the hiring and firing of the superintendent, for pedagogy, and for determining exactly how to spend any monies allocated by federal, state, or local government. The 5 Brookline constables are elected to 3-year terms, and their role dates back to the colonial era. The primary responsibility of a constable is to post public notice for events like an upcoming town meeting or a polling location being moved. Another role of the constable is a process server, and that means that if a constable knocks on your door, they're not bringing you a Publishers Clearinghouse check. They're bringing you notice that you are being sued, subpoenaed, divorced, or evicted. Finally, in the event of a fracas in a public meeting or hearing, the chair of the committee may call upon a constable to remove the unruly party. The trustees of the public library serve as the Brookline Public Library's board of directors. There are 12 of them, 4 elected each year to offsetting 3-year terms, and their role is to manage the policies and procedures of Brookline's public libraries, as well as to hire its executive director. We're here at 90 Longwood Avenue, the headquarters for the Brookline Housing Authority. Now, the Brookline Housing Authority has 5 members. 1 is appointed by the governor. The other 4 are elected by people in Brookline. 1 of the 5 must be a resident of the Brookline Housing Authority. And this board is responsible for managing and maintaining all Brookline Housing Authority properties, which provide safe, affordable housing for low and moderate income people, including seniors, the disabled, and families. The town meeting is Brookline's legislature, made up of 255 members. It is 15 residents from each of Brookline's 17 precincts, typically elected 5 at a time in each precinct. On elections following the decennial census, all 15 town meeting members can be up at once. Brookline's town meeting is responsible for the annual appropriation, the budget, as well as passing laws and regulations related to land use, development, or other behavior in town. When in person, Brookline's town meeting meets right here in the Brookline High School auditorium. The moderator is elected to a 3-year term and serves several important roles. The most obvious is to moderate the town meeting itself. The moderator holds the gavel and controls the agenda, determining the order of speakers, whether or not a question is germane or appropriate, and counting the vote itself. The moderator has 2 other important roles as well. In the run-up to town meeting, it is the moderator who determines which proposed amendments are deemed in scope, as well as determining the agenda for each night of the town meeting. Finally, the moderator appoints members to several boards and committees, most notably the town's advisory committee. In total, there are 292 elected positions in our town government, with about 1/3 up for election every year. A feature only available to municipalities with town government, and one that allows Brookline residents to elect at least 1 new member of each governing cohort every year, and indeed a new majority of members for every cohort every 2 years. Our system allows for a gradual, steady evolution of governance to match the interests of the voters across town. This year, there are 104 seats up for election, specifically 2 select board positions of the 5, 4 library trustee positions of the 12, 3 school committee positions of the 9, 1 housing authority position of the 5, 1 constable position of the 5, and 93 of the 255 town meeting positions. This year, we have Brookline Interactive Group media apprentices in the field at the parties for all 3 select board candidates. Let's check in with one of the parties now.
7-8, test, test. 1-2, test, test 3. 4-4-5.
It looks like we've
6,
got
6.
Anthony Buono,
1-2, 3-4,
candidate
2-2,
for select
3-4.
board. We can see him. He can't hear us, but he's clearly relaxing after a long day. We're going to come back to the parties once we have some winners, but we just wanted to test a new feature we've got here on Brookline Interactive Group. Again, we've got these great students in the field working with this technology, and we're so glad that they're out and about around town. But we're going to give Anthony the hook and come back to the show. Voters today and early voters of the past 2 weeks will narrow down 118 choices to 104 positions. Later in the show, I'll sit down with outgoing Select Board member Paul Warren. But first, have you ever wondered how Brookline's $460 million budget comes together? A few Brookline High School media apprentices caught up with Dennis Dowdy, chair of the advisory committee, to find out. Let's take a look.
What's good, Brookline? My name is Ben Dankworth. I'm here with the Brookline Interactive Group, and we came to Town Hall to learn more about how budgeting is done in Brookline. To do this, we're going to be talking to Dennis Dowdy, who's the advisory committee chair of the town of Brookline.
My name is Dennis Dowdy. I'm a town meeting member, elected town meeting member from Precinct 3. I've served on town meeting for 14 years maybe. I've been a member of the advisory committee, which is the town's financial oversight committee, for 8 or 9 years now, and I've been the chair for the last 4. So the budget is an annual process, and each year influences the next. Even though you're voting on a budget for a single year, you're often voting for trends over time. Although the advisory committee is responsible for presenting the budget to town meeting and ultimately being responsible for deciding what the allocations are, the vast majority of that process comes through a town administrator's office and the various department heads. They advocate for programs, projects they want to do, funding that they are going to need, and then as part of just like any company would do, there are allocations that are determined. And then what happens is each of those budgets goes through a comprehensive review process. The advisory committee reviews every department's budget, and we assess whether the proposed budget is reasonable, whether it meets the objectives. We assess the performance of the department over the prior year or years, and we identify what we might consider to be discrepancies between the stated goals of the department, the goals of the community and our constituents. Eventually we make recommendations for each budget, then we roll it all up into an omnibus budget that is prepared and then delivered to town meeting.
So how would you say the budget is broken down into by category? What are the different categories that the budget tries to address?
So the town budget is, approximately $400 million. We think about it as the school, what's called the school side and the town side. It's about 60% for the schools and 40% for the towns. And the reason for that is that if you think about it, there are a lot of schools and a lot of teachers and a lot of expenses that are made in providing the high quality Brookline education. Then there's the town side, which is everything else. So that's primarily public safety and the fire department and the police department. It's public works in terms of street maintenance, parks maintenance, recreational spaces, and every other department, the finance department, the human resources department, the town clerk, the list goes on. This other area that you sometimes hear about, which is all of the payments that are made to retirees as part of their pension program. So for the past many, many years, a significant percentage of the town's budget is actually allocated into bringing those funds up to the level where they can cover the ongoing obligation that those benefits represent.
Like, how would you break down where Brookline's revenue comes from? Majority of it is, and the sort of different avenues of revenue.
The town's revenue comes from residential property taxes. A much smaller percentage comes from commercial taxes, state aid. Brookline, compared to a number of communities in the area, has a higher percentage of its revenue coming from residential property taxes than from its commercial base. In part because if you look at Brookline, it's incredibly densely populated already. It's hard to imagine a lot of places where we can add a significant new commercial area. And so for the foreseeable future, vast majority of the revenue is going to come from residential property taxes. The town has a planning and development office, which is always looking to increase the commercial base. And so you will see initiatives that are from the Planning and Development Office, but residential taxes still represent the lion's share.
And we're back. I'm State Representative Tommy Vitolo, and you are watching the Election Night Results Show, a special production of TV on TV, right here on Big. Let's check in with another party for one of the Select Board candidates. We're having some technical difficulties, so we'll check in later. And we'll move on. The town of Brookline is the second largest town. Oh, no, we've got it. Here we are. Looks like we've got Amanda Zimmerman's party. And, you know, like I said, we're all figuring it out. But we're going to come back later to this party if and only if Amanda Zimmerman is one of the two winners in the select board race. So let's go ahead. Oh, we'll get a little action there. That's what the living room looks like. All right, let's get back to the show, and we'll come back to the party later if all works out. The town of Brookline is the second largest town in Massachusetts and has a budget of nearly $500 million. This year, voters have the opportunity to increase their own taxes by a collective $23.25 million to maintain funding of current services. Let's check back in with the teens who interviewed Dennis Dowdy to hear more about the Proposition 2.5 override process. Roll that tape.
Back in 1980, the voters of the state of Massachusetts approved Proposition 2.5. Proposition 2.5 says that community cannot increase its property tax levy, which is the total amount that it collects. That's not the property tax for any individual property, it's the aggregate amount, by more than 2.5% plus the amount that might be added to that as a result of brand new development that increased the overall base. If the town was collecting $100 million in property taxes, then it can collect the next time around without any other changes $100 million plus 2.5%. The actual allocation of that by household will depend upon a whole number of factors, such as how many households are there in the town. With that in mind, what happens in a world in which the overall inflation rate, the consumer price index or whatever, has increased by more than 2.5%? Okay, well, right there, irrespective of anything else that's going on, the town's not going to take in enough money next year to make the payments that are going to become due the following year, and that will result in a gap. The demands that the state has made for services that the community has to provide has gone up. Well, the community has to provide those new services. The voters have asked for something new. For example, the voters want a new school to be built, which is a valuable thing. Well, that new building costs more to maintain than the old building costs. That's a new strain on the budget. And so over time, the demands for expenses are going to go up at a great rater than the amount that the town can increase the overall levy. And that is known as a deficit. Over the past few years, the amount of funding that the town has been allocating in the budget process for maintenance for all of the new buildings that we have been building has significantly increased. There have been adjustments that were made to the Council on Aging budget, the Department of Veterans Affairs budget. Through the process right now, we are tracking a set of adjustments that we would like to figure out a way to make in this year's budget. And then again, there's more having to do with allocation of funds for building maintenance for the Pierce School. And so what that means is the only way that you can increase the amount of money that the town takes in is by asking the voters to approve an override. An override means for some period of time, we are going to increase the rate at which the town can increase the levy. So instead of 2.5%, it could be 3% or 4% or whatever the number is for some period of time. That increases the amount of money that comes in. We're currently asking for a 3-year increase, which means you're going to be increasing over the baseline of 2.5% for 3 years. After that, there would be no more additional increases, but the new baseline would be higher.
All right, thank you so much for talking with us. And
that's everything?
Yeah, that's everything.
Okay.
For those just joining us on Comcast, RCN, or on the live stream, I'm State Representative Tommy Vitolo, and you're watching the Election Night Results Show, a special production of TV on TV, right here on Big. Coming up next, we will have special guest Paul Warren, outgoing Select Board member. But first, we're going to check in. No, we're going to skip that final party so we get more time with Paul Warren, he's going to be a select board member for about another 12 hours. We're going to have some of that time. First, we're going to take a short break and the interview right when we come back. So don't go anywhere.
In 2012, the World Health Organization of the United Nations named the town of Brookline its first age-friendly community in New England. This was based on a whole list of attributes and work by the Brookline residents, the select board, the town departments, and leadership provided by Brookline Can, an all-volunteer organization that works on Brookline residents of all ages and their issues. As an age-friendly city, Brookline's conscious of its design of streets, open spaces, housing, and businesses for residents of all ages and cultures.
Welcome back. We're here with Paul Warren, who has been a select board member for 2 years, 364 days, and 12 hours, more or less. Paul, you got a half a day left. I want to start by saying thank you. As an elected, I know we don't get thanked very often. It's a lot of work, and you make the tough calls, and I appreciate you putting in that time away from your family, time away from anything else you could be doing. So let me be the first to say thank you for having almost finished serving.
I appreciate it, Tommy. 12 hours left, huh?
12 hours left.
Okay,
You know,
I'll get a good night's sleep.
see what we can get done in the next 12 hours.
Yeah, a couple of phone calls.
Paul, I know that when you announced you were running 3.5 years ago, folks were worried because you very strong ideas and expressed them strongly. And then I think that your service actually showed far more openness and interest in what others had to say. Was that a natural transition, or was that something you sort of decided you would do?
That's a great question. I don't think it's something I decided. I think when you come to the select board, you have ideas and things you want to accomplish and things you want to get done. And then after a few meetings, the reality sets in. You need 3 votes to get anything done. So you need to approach it bringing your values to the select board, but you got to spend a lot of time listening and finding where that common ground is, because 3 votes is not always easy to get, especially on some of the complicated stuff.
Now, select board meetings are just about every Tuesday night, and they seem like they run 4 or 5 hours. Maybe there's some executive session as well. Let's call it 6 hours a week,
hours.
Right? That's not that much time, right? The rest of the time you're doing nothing?
No, I think, as you know, given how much time we've spent on the phone, days are spent on the phone, nights are spent, serving either select board, town meeting, boards and commissions that you're on. So I'm the chair of the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee. That takes time. I'm on EDEB. That happens at night. A number of other committees that we're on. So it is a big commitment.
And so serving on the select board in that public face, communicating with other boards, committees, and commissions. What about time with staff? Are you spending time with staff as well?
Of course. That's actually some of the most important work, spending time with staff. It's a great opportunity for the select board to meet with staff, help them work through issues that they're facing, help develop consensus, for the board, because the board can't meet without a public notice meeting. But if you have a select board member on around the table with staff, you can make a lot of progress. Mike Sandman and I did a lot of that work, actually, leading up to some of the work that we had done to modify our complete streets and pavement management policies, the work that was done for the Harvard Street rezoning. A lot of that was done at a table with staff.
And you talked about bringing people along, and I want to really dive into Harvard Street just a little bit. In my view, it was by far and away your most significant accomplishment in those 3 years. You came in having been a leader for Brookline by Design, a organization that's prefers a slower and more cautious approach to development. And I think people expected that was the Paul Warren everybody was going to see. And when you got elected, you took a different approach. You said, hey, we've got to comply with the MBTA Communities Act. There's different ways to do it. And you brought in folks who want to build as quickly as possible. You brought in folks who, frankly, don't want to build anything at all. You found a lot of folks who have a position in the middle. You brought staff along. You brought lawyers along. And you even figured out that we don't have to make Harvard Street part of the MBTA compliance. It can be adjacent to it. And so many folks don't even know that. They think Harvard Street is the MBTA compliance. In fact, it's not, which has a wonderful feature to it. As a new select board member, how did you find yourself in the middle of that? And how were you able to get folks to buy in that you were the one who was going to get it done?
That's a great question, Tom. It was complicated. I think it started with relationships. So I had good relationships on the Brookline by Design side and also the Brookline for Everyone side. I mean, lots of relationships are important to have. I had a good relationship with staff, a great relationship with the town administrator, and ultimately everybody had the same kind of goal in mind. They wanted to pass something and it took a 2/3 vote, which is a very, very high bar, as you know. So having that as a common base of understanding, and me not actually influencing, I sat at the table and mediated. I didn't put my thumb on the scale. I helped two sides talk. And one of the greatest barriers we have in Brookline to getting anything done is when people stay within their four walls and they're not willing to talk. They send more, bombs at each other from behind their walls versus talking. And I think the best thing that came out of that was getting people to start talking to each other.
And I mean, I really want to emphasize, you didn't get 2/3 of the vote. You got almost 85% of the vote. And this was a solution that had a lot of details, but big picture, I don't think there was a lot of optimism when it started. And when we got to a conclusion, folks were really comfortable with the outcome. I think it's a big deal. Now, we haven't seen a lot of development on Harvard Street yet. Interest rates are high. The price of steel, thanks to the Trump tariffs, are high. But I think we will. What's next? Are you... You're not going to run against me, are you?
No, but before we go to what's next, let me just clarify one. No, I will not be running.
He didn't
against you.
answer.
I didn't. Tommy, there's still things that have to happen. I will say that the MBTA Communities Act certainly wasn't me. It was the folks that came around the table. I was just lucky to be in a position to be able to help facilitate it. What's next? I'm going back to town meeting.
Yes.
I
will be announcing your win shortly.
There may be a major write-in. I don't know. There could be an upset. My wife Amy is also a town meeting member, so I'm looking forward to date night at town meeting. A little pizza and then going off and voting. And I'm looking forward to that. And most importantly, I'm looking to kind of realign my life a little bit so I can get back into doing what is important to me, is helping with my kids.
Well, I'm glad you're coming back to town meeting. I think town meeting benefits from former select board members or other former town-wides. You have the big wisdom, but not the detailed analysis of that particular issue, and I think it really does add to town meeting. Nancy Daly is a great example of a 12-year select board member who has been on town meeting for a good while since then and provides that leadership. So I'm glad you're doing that.
I'm looking forward to it.
And glad we're not using you completely. But I want to say thank you for all of your work. And I have no doubt.
When are you up again?
I'm up in September and November, and I also am running against write-in. And so I like my chances, but that's for another day. Today is all about the town election. Yes. And thank you again for everything you've done for the town.
Appreciate your service too.
Folks, we're going to take a quick break. And it's almost 8 o'clock, so if you're watching and you haven't voted yet, now's the time.
Good.
o'clock on the dot. Folks, we're back, and I will tell you, turnout is incredibly high. That doesn't mean you see a lot of people lined up at the polls. In fact, there was so many early votes that we may be having some trouble with the tickers, with the printout. So hopefully everything goes well, but it is past 8 o'clock. If you're still in line to vote and you're watching this show, stay there. You will be able to vote. If you're not in line yet, better luck next year. This election is over. It's 8 o'clock. We're going to bring you the results of all 6 townwide races and every town meeting race as well, following this brief interruption. Folks, we're back. It's 8 o'clock. It's a few minutes after, and that means we are ready to report results. We're going to start with the campaigns where the candidates were unopposed. We don't actually have any results yet. We won't actually have results for a few minutes, but we do know which candidates won because they ran in unopposed races. And I hope to say this a few times, but I will remind you, these results are unofficial. It will not include votes that arrived at Town Hall or Putterham Library or Coolidge Corner Library drop boxes after about 6:30 p.m. today. And it will not include military members who are overseas whose mail-in votes actually by federal law do not have to have arrived by 8 o'clock today. That's not very many votes. It is unlikely that those last few votes will change the outcome of the election, but we will emphasize that these are unofficial results. We do have a pretty strong sense, though, that those running unopposed will win. We did not hear of any write-in campaigns, and it's impossible to run a secret write-in campaign. Folks have to know if they're going to write you in. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the winners that we know about. And we're going to start in town meeting with Precinct 1, way over here. Congratulations to Sarah Erickson, Amy Evanson, Carol Hillman, Bettina Newefind, and Paul Warren, our recent guest. Those 5 ran unopposed. Of course, Precinct 1, Cottage Farm and Longwood Mall. It's sort of near Kenmore Square. And those 4 incumbents, and Paul Warren, a former town meeting member, then select board, now back to town meeting. Let's go over to Precinct 5. Precinct 5, also 5 folks running unopposed. Anthony Flint, Wendy Friedman, Wendy Stahl, Benjamin Day, and Ian Huntington. The top 3 incumbents, some long-serving incumbents. The 2 down below, newcomers. And you can see Precinct 5 is kind of centered around New Lincoln School, south of Route 9, but not what anyone would call quite South Brookline. Precinct 6 is the precinct I'm standing in here at Brookline Interactive Group World Headquarters. And we've got a 5 for 5, actually 5 incumbents. So nice, they'll do it twice. Folks were happy with them. That's Kat Anderson, Patty Correa, Bitsy Perlman, Clint Richmond, and Marissa Vogt. We may call Marissa Vogt's name again as she's running for a library trustee. That's a competitive race, so you'll have to hold your horses for that one. Let's go over to Precinct 7. Precinct 7 is sort of between Park Street and Harvard Street, south of Coolidge Corner. You can see it right here. It's got the Stop and Shop. And 3 incumbents, 2 newcomers running unopposed. John Hebert, Amy Newell, Jessica Stokes, the incumbents, and newcomers Samantha Rothberg and Matthew Zalsak. Again, 5 for 5. We don't have numbers yet. We don't know how many votes. We don't know the order they finished in. All 5 elected. Precinct 7 also had a short seat due to a vacancy. That was also unopposed. And so for the 1-year term, Ronnie Balakrishna, new to town meeting, relatively new to this world. She's a young lady, but she is hot stuff. She's on the Democratic State Committee. She's working for a congressional campaign. She's going to be a great town meeting member, I have no doubt. I'm really excited She's going to be part of the 255. And for those who don't know, I am a town meeting member. I am a town meeting member because as a state representative who lives in Brookline, I am just automatically a town meeting member. And I've been in town meeting for over 20 years. I think it's a wonderful institution, proud to be a part of it. Let's go over to Precinct 9. Now, Precinct 9, very competitive race for the 3-year seats. But there's a 2-year seat and a 1-year seat, and neither of those were competitive. So let's start with the 2-year seat. Emily Jaffe, again, running unopposed. We're quite confident we're going to call it. She's going to win the 2-year seat and represent Precinct 9, which is kind of like Winchester Street to Harvard Street, and then by TJ Maxx, it kind of blooms out a little bit. You can see it here. Precinct 9 also had a 1-year seat running unopposed, Catherine Wilkins, who lives above Tate, that new building adjacent to KI. And she's a wonderful resident there. Very excited to be on town meeting and contribute to the town. Precinct 11, which is Summit Ave, the 3-year seats are competitive. But there is a short seat, a 1-year seat, and that'll be won by Carol Caro, running unopposed. I think shown here near Queso Vaca. Don't hold me to that, but I'll bet you that's right. Again, Precinct 11 is sort of the big hill of Summit Ave. Wonderful to ride a bike down, not so great to ride a bike up, if you ask a guy like me. Again, that's Precinct 11. We're going to go to Precinct 13. Precinct 13 is the string bean down here. It's sort of the northwest corner of Washington Square, and it comes all the way down past Cleveland Circle. Again, it's a 5 for 5, 3 incumbents. FISA had been caucused, but really two newcomers. So Michael Best, Werner Lowy, David Mendels, Victoria Fernandez, and Faiza Khan. Now, I didn't look it up, but I feel fairly confident that this is Werner Lowy's first unopposed election in 25 years. Precinct 13 has historically been quite competitive, and Werner Lowy has been a town meeting member. Well, he was there when I got there, so at least 20 years. Really a leader, a longtime leader on climate before it was cool. He and recently deceased friend and mentor Don Weitzman were really the leaders of green and climate in town meeting decades ago. And thankfully, others have come along and carried on that journey. But I did want to give him a shout out. The 2-year seat, there's a single 2-year seat that's available as well. Phil Stigman, he is a social worker. He's focused on young people. Great guy. Glad to have him in town meeting. And there's a 1-year seat as well. Leah Cuny-Berti. I met her today out at the polls. Again, also excited to have her. She's in just the 1-year seat, and so she'll be up for election in Precinct 13 next year. We're going to go to Precinct 14. 14 is a big precinct, right? It's sort of maybe the estates, certainly Fisher Hill. We've got 4 incumbents and a newcomer. We've got Yukavet Sammy, Sharon Schaufman, Sammy Zelka, Sasan Zelka, and Brenda Hefter. And Precinct 14 tends to be pretty stable, so this isn't a surprise. They tend to be pretty happy with their representation. And so they're going to stick with it. We're going to skip to Precinct 17. Now, generally, the precincts are numbered 1 through 16, but 17's different. 17's right in the middle. Now, there's a little bit of confusion on this precinct that I want to talk you through. These 5 town meeting members ran unopposed. 2 of them also ran townwide. Jonathan Klein ran townwide for Housing Authority. He will also serve as a town meeting member, and that's no problem. Anthony Buono, on the other hand, is different. Anthony can only serve on the select board or on town meeting. So he's won a town meeting seat. If he wins his select board seat, this seat will be immediately vacated, and the 14 town meeting members who are remaining in Precinct 17 will vote for who they want to be the 15th person, and that seat will come up next year. So again, 5 folks: Catherine Hanshin, Jonathan Klein, Elizabeth Schaefer, Joseph Valencia and Anthony Buono all have served in town meeting for months or years already. Anthony, oh, we've got results happening in real time. I don't know if I like that, but what we're going to do is we're going to go to a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to have some more results. So stay tuned. And we're back. We've got a few more results, but I'm hearing that we've got another party we're going to check in on. I don't know if we can make that work from here. We're always figuring it out as we go. Maybe I'm on the wrong side of the screen. Oh, we got it. Okay. So this is the Washington Square Tavern. That's where John Van Scoyoc is having some friends get together. You can see it's an elegant dining experience. And it actually is a lovely place to get a pint or some dinner. They're going to ratchet it up there as well. I think they'll be more excited in a few minutes. Folks are still coming into the parties from the polls. And so I expect that we're going to have more people there in just a little while. And if he is one of the 2 select board winners, we'll cut back. But for now, we have more results we want to go through. And so let's go ahead back to the big board and let's check them out. I'm getting results from Precinct 3. Precinct 3 is a competitive race, so these are real. We're going to check them out with numbers. And we've got 5 folks who ran, maybe not as a slate, but certainly comfortably well together. Topping the ticket is Sadaf Kazmi, new to town meeting. She was a real leader on the study committee that looked at how the town expenditures and revenue looked in preparation for the override question. And so while she's not famous on the streets, certainly she has done her work, her homework in town government. Lee Heyman, also a newcomer. Number 2, Lee Heyman was very active in the Yes campaign. So no surprise, I suspect he did a good bit of door-to-door or talking with neighbors in Precinct 3 in favor of the override and presumably in favor of his own campaign. We also see Gregory Wheeler, a newcomer, and the stalwarts, Ann Turner and Mac Dewart. I talked to Mac earlier today. He's a poet and a sculptor and actually quite an inspiring guy. If you ever get a chance to check out his work, I hope you will do so. We've got 2 townwide races, again, unopposed, and so there's no surprises there. But I do want to go ahead and bang them out. And then we may go back and review some of the things we've already done. Let's go to Housing Commissioner. We talked about Jonathan Klein. He doesn't really have 0 votes. He's going to have more than that, but he only needs 1 to win, running unopposed. Jonathan Klein, I suspect, was unopposed for Housing Authority because he is, in fact, a remarkably well-qualified housing authority candidate. He worked as a real estate attorney, and I believe doing development involving affordable housing for many, many years, and has been very active on housing. And so I have no doubt that he will bring those skills to the housing authority, which manages about 1,000 units and 1,000 Section 8 vouchers. Brookline Housing Authority manages about 2,000 residences, not insubstantial. That's a substantial amount of real estate to cover. I have no doubt Jonathan Klein is doing a great job. I want to go over to Constable. Again, not 0 votes. I promise you he did better than that. Joe Figler has been a constable for a long time. In fact, he learned it from his father. He learned the job from his father. Constable is a little bit of an obscure job. Really, it does 3 things. It serves public notice for things like town meeting, or if there is a planning board meeting, so they get those notices up so folks really know that they're coming. They serve evictions and subpoenas and other court documents where it's really important that the recipient gets that piece of information, so they show up to court or they take care of their business. And the third thing a constable does is clear a fracas if there is an unruly party at a public meeting. In fact, the tradition is not to call the police, but to call a constable to settle things down. Now, in practice in Brookline, that has not been something we've seen very often because it turns out people are reasonably well behaved. But that's Joe Figler, ran unopposed for constable. Not a surprise because, again, he is also extremely well qualified for the job. We've got another result. We've got the short seat in Precinct 17. So what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to go to Precinct 17 and show you it's the same people we had before, but in a different order because now they have numbers. So now they're sorted by their place. Again, we knew these 5 would win, and the order doesn't actually matter. It's just fun to pay attention to. But in fact, those are the vote totals. And I want to point out for Precinct 17, these are high numbers. That shouldn't be a surprise. Competitive town meeting race, competitive school committee race, competitive library trustee race, tax question on the ballot. There were a lot of reasons for people to come out. And I would add, an awful lot of money was spent in this election. That's not a bad thing. It meant that voters had a lot of opportunities to hear from the candidates themselves and hear about the candidates and were energized either, to vote for someone or to vote against someone. But either way, folks came out to vote, and we saw it in Precinct 17, which is traditionally a modest turnout precinct. 480 votes is an awful lot. So that's pretty exciting. But we also have the short seat, 17.1, which I'm showing you now for the first time. This is the one-year seat. There are 2 people who are going to win out of 3 candidates for the one-year seat. And they are Jonathan Golden and Elizabeth Hudson. Jonathan Golden had served as a town meeting member in some other precincts. He used to live in Precinct 11, so he had some experience. Elizabeth Hudson, a newcomer. That was a competitive race. 17 is a tough place to run because you can see how small it is compared to the other precincts. It has a lot of large apartment buildings, and that makes it hard to knock on doors. It's not like Precinct 3 or Precinct 1 or Precinct 10 or Precinct 6, where you can go knock on doors of 1-family, 2-family, 3-family houses. It's very difficult to run there. We've got results in Precinct 15. Precinct 15 is this one. It's a very big precinct. It tends to be fairly conservative, I can tell you for sure. We're not going to show those results yet, but Precinct 15 would have voted overwhelmingly no on the override. There were 6 candidates for 5 positions, and the 5 incumbents have maintained their seats. Jane Flanagan, Arisa Boyd, Benedicta Hallowell, Rory Hallowell, and James Rourke. If Rory and Benedicta looked similar, that shouldn't be surprised. Mother-son, working hard together. They don't always vote together. They don't sit together, but they do both represent Precinct 15 together. We've got results from Precinct 12. I want to go over to Precinct 12. Precinct 12 is kind of Aspinwall Hill, and let's see what we got. Precinct 12, I believe these 5 candidates worked together. It's hard for me to keep it all in track, but I think that's right. That's a huge number of votes. 675 is off the charts for town meeting. Congratulations, Margot Malloy, a fairly new town meeting member. Michael Burstein, hot on her trail, a long-term serving town meeting member and award-winning science fiction author. Stephanie Bruce, Christopher Stadler, and Jonathan Phillips, not far behind. That pack that's so tight together, that indicates to me that in fact they were able to persuade their voters to vote for all 5. Right, so if Christopher found someone, he'd say, vote for all 5 of us. If Michael found someone, he'd say, vote for all 5 of us. And their voters were very disciplined. That gap between Margot at 675 and Jonathan at 621 is very small. That suggests to me that their voters were disciplined. They voted for the whole package. While we're waiting for some races to come in, excuse me, I want to go back and do a little bit of a recap. We'll go quick. For those of you who have just joined us, it's election day. We're getting results. We've got to get results from all 17 precincts before we can tell you what happened townwide. We do have some results that came in with numbers. Other results, we don't have the numbers yet, but we know who won because they were running unopposed. So we're going to go just quickly. We'll bang down the list, right? Here's Precinct 1. It was a 5 for 5. No surprises, but we want to show that off for you. We're going to go to precinct 3. This was a competitive race. There was 6 candidates, 5 slots. These folks ran together, and typically running together does well. We'll do a few more that we've shown already. Precinct 5. Precinct 5 was not competitive, 5 for 5, no surprises. But look, we do have numbers, so the order shifted around just a little bit. The 3 incumbents, typically, no surprise, outperformed the 2 challengers. When the race is competitive, often the newcomers perform better because they're out there hustling. But when the race is not competitive and nobody has to knock on doors for themselves, they're all going to win, typically the incumbents do better because they're more well-known. 6 was all incumbents. And this is interesting. This is a bigger gap, right? So we didn't have the numbers last time. Marissa Vogt running townwide as well, so that sometimes provides some lift. Bitsy, Patty, and Kat, very close. Clint Richmond's got a drop-off. And there could be a million reasons why. Maybe, everybody wanted to vote for the ladies. Hard to know. But it's interesting that there's a gap there. Let's go to precinct 7. We have numbers here as well. Again, we see a similar pattern. Amy Newell also running for library trustee, kind of near the top of the ticket there, just 1 vote behind Jessica. There's also a drop-off here, although it's a little more gradual. But, similar dynamics. It means we're going to have numbers for 7.1. There you go, Ronnie, with 506. We'll just let you know. We're going to go to precinct 11.1. We're going to skip 9 because we're going to come back to it. Carol running unopposed. Good number. Good number. Precinct 12 we looked at, but I just want to sort of touch it again. Remember, this one is very tightly packed as compared to, say, precinct 6 or precinct 5 that had a little more spread. Precinct 13, we've got these numbers. Faiza Khan running townwide. Again, you see her near the top. We see a little bit of a spread. Werner Lowy, a long-term incumbent, so no surprise there. And we've got actual numbers, 578 for Phil Stigman and 578 for Leah Cooney-Bertie. I don't know what the odds of that are. That's super interesting. Not especially important, but interesting. Precinct 14, again, we have a gradual spread, not a dramatic drop. Precinct 14, pretty tight-knit, pretty consistent. Precinct 15, I don't remember if we had the numbers before, but we did. Here we have them again. Again, that's the rundown for 15. I'm getting some new results, so I want to cut over. We've got Precinct 4. Precinct 4, where's Precinct 4? If I were Precinct 4, I would be right here. This is kind of a funky precinct. It's got some of Route 9, it's got some of Kent Street, and it's got kind of the fire station and the BHA residences at 22 High. Precinct 4 competitive, 7 people running, 5 are going to win. And here's our finals, the 5 incumbents. It can be hard for challengers to crack the code. This is no different. These numbers are much, much lower. Look at Chris Dempsey, who topped the ticket at 326. We were seeing numbers in the 600s in some other precincts. Precinct 4, much lower turnout. That's not a surprise to me. Precinct 4 has apartment buildings that are difficult to get into. Precinct 4 is not sort of a single cohesive neighborhood. It was stitched together. It was kind of assembled to be a majority-minority precinct, but it's not as cohesive. And so even though they had a competitive town meeting race, it didn't drive turnout dramatically. So we have 5 incumbents who were reelected: Chris Dempsey, Matt Hyatt, Liz Linder, Elizabeth Childs, and Awet Tiame. Congratulations to all of you in Precinct 4. I want to go to Precinct 8. Precinct 8, Coolidge Corner. Competitive race. And we've got a mix of young and old. Incumbents from a variety of places. Eric Stone topping the ticket. He's not just a town meeting candidate. He's great at managing the data. And in fact, he's one of the folks putting these graphics together right now. So Eric, I hope you're telling us the truth. I'm sure he is. Alec Leibovitz, right behind him. Kaylee Bennett, Nancy Heller, former select board member, former advisory committee member, former school committee member, still serving us with town meeting, and John Harris. Those are the 5 and 8. We're going to go to 9. Now, 9 had the largest number of town meeting candidates in a race. It was 9 candidates. There were 4 on one side and 5 on the other. Maybe it'll be a mix. Maybe it'll be a sweep. Let's have a look. Precinct 9. Lee Birnbaum topped the ticket. Aaron Unger, second with 475. Jess Levasseur, Ben Chosner, and Kevin Walton. So we see 4 folks really coming in from one side, and that's what happens with slates. Oftentimes one slate will win or the other. This was one where nobody really knew how it was going to go, so it's super interesting. Precinct 16, we're going to go over to 16. These are new results for us. We have Deborah Abner topping the ticket, Judy Leitner, Michael Harrington, David Day, and newcomer Nick Fetzer. He would have beaten out Joe Ross, who's a longtime town meeting member. In his later years, he's having trouble moving around, so he had a really difficult time kind of getting out there and campaigning. Newcomer Nick Fetzer edged him out for the 5th spot in Precinct 16. We've got some more results coming in. Precinct 2. Let's go over to Precinct 2. Precinct 2 is likely a lower turnout precinct. You see the numbers here. 264 votes for Mark Penzel, topping the ticket. Precinct 2, again, a lower turnout precinct, more apartment buildings, harder to canvass. We see Bob Miller, Colleen Newsom, David Trevette, and Megan Hinman. And there's some spread there. We see a drop-off. That's what happens when you're a newcomer, right? The first 4, all incumbents, and then a newcomer. We're still waiting on, I think, just one precinct. We're so close. I don't know that I've reported Precinct 11. Let me go over to Precinct 11. I have not yet, so this is exciting and maybe a little unexpected. John Hilliard, Jen Goldsmith, John Rumpler, Andrew Halpert, and Akiva Leibowitz. Let me give you some context. Jen Goldsmith's a former town meeting member back in the saddle. John and Akiva incumbents. Andrew Halpert was an outsider and probably handicapped to finish 6th, but you know, it's like the Kentucky Derby. Sometimes you get a golden tempo, not to be confused with Golden Temple, which is in Washington Square. That's Precinct 12. So Andrew Halpert, a little bit of a golden tempo, moving up, not first, but you only got to finish in the top 5, and he did just that. So that, I think, is a little bit unexpected. We're still waiting on Precinct 10 and only on Precinct 10, so come on, Precinct 10. We're dying to find out what happened town-wide. But we're going to go back, and we're just going to recap a couple of the races we only touched once. Just to remind folks, I think we did go to 14 twice. We'll remind you, our constable winner, Joe Figler, 8,429 votes. You can try to surmise what that means for the townwide races all you want, but it's constable. It's lower on the ticket. I expect turnout today maybe as high as 15,000, but when you're running unopposed, you'll get a lot of blanks. And frankly, that doesn't include Precinct 10, so he's going to be a little larger than that. Jonathan Klein, sort of the same story, right? About 9,000, running unopposed. That's not a surprise. I'm looking to see what we haven't done twice. We'll go back to 13. I think we've got some numbers. Yeah, we did. We showed this. We showed this with the numbers. We're just waiting on Precinct 10, and we have it. So, like, this is the stuff. We're going to do Precinct 10. Then I'm going to do some town-wides. So pay attention. Here we go. Precinct 10. Precinct 10 happens to be where I live. It's kind of centered around Griggs Park. And Precinct 10, it was a 6 for 5. These 5 folks ran together. And when you run as a group, success is much more likely. Kim Lascalzo, Ariel Maddox, longtime incumbents. Jessica Lang, Suzette Abbott, and Namisha Schneider, also winners. You see there's a little bit of a drop-off for the newcomer. Not a lot. There's some discipline there. But those are your 5 winners in Precinct 10. Now, look, we have done every precinct. And if you've done every precinct, then surely you know the results of the town-wides. Do we know the results of the town-wides? We're double-checking because I don't want to go too soon. I think we do. I want to do it. I want to do it. I want to do it. Can I do it? Can I do it? I'm so excited. We're doing it. Folks, we're going to start with Select Board. Of course, we interviewed Paul Warren. Now we're going to see someone. Remember, there are 3 candidates, John Van Scoik, Anthony Buono, Amanda Zimmerman, as they appeared on the ballot. Let's see. Our select board winners are Amanda Zimmerman and Anthony Buono. And actually a pretty good gap there. This was a really interesting race in terms of dynamics. Anthony Buono kind of running as a lot of people's second choice. Apparently there was lift there. I will also say, I haven't seen the numbers yet. I believe this bodes well for the override vote. I'm not certain, but I believe it bodes well. We're going to go to library trustee. For library trustees, we see Chris Chania-Salkett and Marissa Vogt, the incumbents. Those are with the highest totals. Not much of a drop off for Amy Newell. And then we see Petra Binyami, top 4 is all you need. Sean O'Neill, not quite enough to get it done. But we appreciate everybody for running. There are 12 library trustees, and you'd think that would be enough, but who knows? I think we're going to go to school committee. I feel comfortable. If we've got the numbers, we've got the numbers. Can we do it? My data people aren't letting me do it. Let's go back and we'll talk about select board for a second while we're waiting to confirm our school committee numbers. The thing about this race was, excuse me, it really could have been any pairing. It was really difficult to read. But John, we thank you for your 6 years on the board. We're going to go to school committee because we're ready. School committee, this is super interesting. This is not what I would have guessed. And I thought I was most sure about my guess here, and I wasn't right. And that's the fun thing about elections. So our winners, Elite Schultz tops the ticket, Laura Baines-Walsh and Suzanne Fetterspiel. Faiza Khan coming up short. I thought for sure Laura Baines-Walsh was going to top the ticket because it seemed like these two were, their voters liked them both together, and maybe they'd vote for Laura for the third, and Elite voters would vote for Laura for a third. And my question was, would Elite come in second or fourth? I thought these two would be closer together. But it goes to show you, no matter how good you are at this, the voters, they go a different way. And so we see a spread here from two folks who ran closely together, but we don't see much spread here. We'll pour over the data later. What I want to do is I want to go to the override. Now, I want to remind you, I have not seen any of these results until we put them on the board. This, folks, is whether or not our town will raise taxes by an additional $23.25 million to maintain, not to expand services. And I will tell you, I've already told you, I think, based on the select board numbers, it's going to be a favorable outcome. It's going to be yes. Let's have a look. And there it is. And folks, it's not even that close. 86.75 to 57.32. I will tell you that at the beginning of this race 4 months ago, I thought no had the advantage. I thought that affordability is a bigger issue. I thought that folks would be concerned about some of the challenges on the 5th floor on the school department administratively. We have a new superintendent. And it's a lot easier to say, no, I'm not going to buy a thing than it is to buy it. But the Yes campaign, the campaign workers itself, led by Jeremy Redburn, but with an awful lot of help, worked incredibly hard and incredibly effectively. Maybe Yes wins with a regular campaign staff, but this campaign staff was really phenomenal. And I give them a ton of credit. I think Yes probably wins, but Yes wins in a blowout because the Yes voters the Yes leaders were able to get their word out. And full transparency, while I did not endorse any of the candidates, I did endorse Yes. I'm sure I was probably, I don't even know if I convinced everybody in my own house to vote Yes. So I don't think that I had a lot to do with that number. I think the campaign did. And I think folks in Brookline are willing to pay for the level of service that they get. So folks, we'll just recap quickly, and then we're going to take a break, and then we're going to have interviews, starting with Amanda Zimmerman. Very exciting. Just to remind you, select board winners, Amanda Zimmerman, Anthony Buono. We will have 3 select board members under 50 years old starting tomorrow. The new youth, I don't know. I've still got time. Library trustees, Chris Chania-Salkett, Marissa Vogt, Amy Newell, and Petra Binyami. And school committee, Elite Schultz, Laura Baines Walsh, and incumbent Suzanne Fetterspiel. So that's it. We've got an override question as well. Yes for Brookline, emerging victorious. Folks, those are the results. We're so glad you saw them first. Not on AP, not in the Boston Globe, not on Brookline News, but right here at Brookline Interactive Group on this show. We're going to take a very quick break, and then we're going to have live from her victory party, Amanda Zimmerman on the air. Stay tuned.
Hello, Brookline. We hope you have enjoyed this live program on Brookline Interactive Group's cable channels. It was brought to you by our member, Tommy Vitolo, who has a show, TV on TV. Take a class on using our studio or camera equipment, or hire us to shoot a paid production for your community group, favorite cause, or special event.
Folks, I'm State Representative Tommy Vitolo, and you're watching TV on TV's Election Night Results Show special. And indeed, the results are in. For Select Board, the winning candidates are Anthony Buono and Amanda Zimmerman. For School Committee, congratulations to Aileen Schultz, Laura Baines Walsh, and Suzanne Fetterspiel. And congratulations to Brookline's 4 elected library trustees that I'm doing out of memory: Chris Chanya-Sulkett, Marissa Vogt, Amy Newell, and Petra Binyami. The operating override passed, and in fact, passed by a considerable margin. But we're not done yet, folks. Don't touch that dial, because thanks to Brookline Interactive Group's worldwide communication system, we're going to connect now with Select Board member-elect Amanda Zimmerman. Amanda, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Well, I want to congratulate you. You run a phenomenal campaign. At almost 10,000 votes, you, I believe, to be are the highest vote getter in maybe ever, probably not ever, in quite a long time. I think that's something to be really proud of. I hope you're ready for the whirlwind, because starting tomorrow, you go to Trader Joe's, people are coming with requests. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling incredibly excited and incredibly humbled. The numbers you just mentioned, like, I did not know what to expect going into this, and I would not have been able to do it without an awesome team of people working with me. And I owe it to them to do a good job in the role.
You know, folks aren't stupid. They see that, like me, you know, you're a younger person. They may or may not know you've got a family at home. You work for a living. You're a star wing on a soccer team. There's a lot going on in your life. Are you going to be able to have time to be a select board member?
You make time. Have you ever heard the phrase, if you want something to do, find a busy person? That's my approach to most things.
Well, you know, your campaign, you talked about 4 things sort of on your literature. I think you're most known for being in favor of a more aggressive development schedule. But as you know, you're one of 5, and the select board doesn't decide everything. Do you have any strategies or any thoughts on how to make a path going forward for your priorities?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. You're one of 5 as a select board member. And so you have to figure out ways to listen to people, to work with people, and move towards shared common goals. And I think it is a process, but it needs leadership. I'm excited to work with the other select board members to make the changes that we need to see happen in Brookline.
What are you going to start with? What's happening tomorrow morning?
Sleep? No. We will see. We will see what I start with tomorrow morning. But for now, I'm going to catch up on a little bit of rest, since I have been on my feet all day at all of our polling locations.
Well, you know, I know you didn't see, because you were hard at work up until the last minute. We interviewed Paul Warren earlier today, who, as you know, is coming off of the board. And he pointed out select board members spend a lot of time on their feet. No, he didn't. He said they spend a lot of time sitting down. 6 hours every Tuesday night, perhaps, but also a lot of time sitting down with people. So I'm sure your Tootsies will get some rest. Do you have anything that you want to sort of, I want to give you the opportunity to thank some folks. I know it's really important to do that. And I think the folks who worked hard for you deserve that shout out in front of our, what do we have, tens of thousands of viewers at this point? I mean, it's a lot. So tell us about some of the people who helped you get your win today.
Yeah. As I hinted earlier, I wouldn't have been able to do any of this without a team of people behind me. Shana Gorfin. Great. I can never say your last name. Shana Gigi is awesome. Isaac Silverbing is awesome. A whole team of people that have helped me in every stretch of the way, from communications to organizing volunteers to every single person who hosted a house party, hosted a yard sign, told their friends, gave a shout out at soccer practice, to all of the other parents there to tell them to vote for me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This is a team effort, and I wouldn't have been able to do it without you.
Well, listen.
Oh, and I almost forgot. I especially wouldn't have been able to do it without my husband holding down the fort with the kids, and my amazing in-laws who are watching my children right now. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, Amanda, again, congratulations for a well-deserved victory. I have no doubt that you are going to be busy over the coming years. And as you know, you're always free to call me. I'm always happy to try to help you think through something, particularly if it's a state, local matter, but even otherwise. And in the meantime, I'll play defense, you play offense. For those who don't know, we're on an adult soccer league team together, and so I'm not good enough to pass the ball all the way to her. I usually got to just get it up to the midfield. But Amanda, congratulations again, and enjoy the night. You deserve it.
Thank you so much.
Now, folks, we're going to go back to the board. We want to go to Anthony. I know we had some technical difficulties with Anthony's feed. Are we able to connect? Well, in that case, I am going to try to do that. And it's kind of crazy. We have video, but what I'm going to do is call him on the phone and see if that works. So we're trying to get Anthony. Again, we have these satellites positioned all around the atmosphere. I think we're going to get Anthony on the line. I'm also hearing, Anthony, congratulations.
Thank you so much, Tommy.
I know you
Thank
landed
you.
this exactly as you imagined it. Folks, you may not know, Anthony Buono decided to run about 3 days before papers were due. He'd been thinking about it, but he didn't pull the trigger until kind of near the end. So he got a slow start to his campaign. But it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Golden Tempo taught us that. Anthony, congratulations.
Tommy, thank you so much. This is just an incredible experience. I've never felt so honored and grateful for anything in my entire life. I am so happy that I've gotten to talk to so many people who live in Brookline. I am so honored that so many of them have chosen me to represent them on the select board. And to those who did not vote for me, I promise to represent you with the same passion and energy that I do to those who did vote for me. And I want to say congratulations to Amanda, and also thank you, John, for running a really good campaign. We had a lot of good conversations about some really core issues, and I think the voters benefited a lot from hearing our discussions.
Were you surprised by the results for the override winning in big fashion?
Yeah, I slightly was, but I knew the stakes of the override, and I think the people of Brookline knew the stakes for the override. We were going to see a lot of cuts in a lot of places that make Brookline, Brookline, the schools, the safety. All of those things were at risk with the override, and at the end of the day, the voters knew that that was what was at stake, and they voted accordingly. And I am so happy that this override passed. I am so happy to working every day to bring more economic development to Brookline in a responsible way, to make the tax increases going forward much less painful. That's my goal going forward, and I'm just so honored I get this privilege to do that work.
Tomorrow morning, you're going to get sworn in, and I have no doubt you're going to roll up your sleeves. Is there an item that you think you're going to sort of put right at top? Is there a thing you're going to start working on right out of the gate?
Yes, there is. At town meeting, there's going to be a vote on the Chestnut Hill West overlay rezoning. I'm going to start talking to my fellow town meeting members and talking. I'm not a town meeting member anymore. Talk to the people in town meeting and make sure that they know that development opportunity is extremely special and really whipping the votes to get that thing passed. That's what I'm going to be doing starting tomorrow morning.
Well, and of course, as you just alluded to, there's now going to be a vacancy in precinct 17, and the other 14 town meeting members from 17, excuse me, will have to choose who that 15th person will be for the next year. I wonder, are you going to be the swing vote on the select board?
You know, I don't think of it that way. When I was on the advisory committee, being the swing vote means you're always in the middle, and that's not necessarily where I stand. There are some times where I'm in one position and sometimes I'm in another. My positions are on a case-by-case basis, so to be the swing vote, I think, is to dichotomize the select board too much. That's just not true. When I worked on the advisory committee, this is a committee of 30-something amazing people who were mentors to me in all their own ways, and many of them actually became my friends. And on the advisory committee, I was honored when I ran to be able to be endorsed by the majority of the elected advisory committee members. And what that means is whether you were a conservative or if you were a liberal, it didn't matter. If you didn't agree on anything, they all agreed that I was going to make a good select board candidate. And that's the type of energy and type of unity that I'm going to bring to the select board. So to talk about swing votes, it's making a dichotomy where there shouldn't be one.
Anthony, I want to congratulate you again. We've got to go back to the big board. I understand there may have been some premature results at school committee, and I definitely want to clear that up. You've got my phone number. Please give me a call if there's ever anything I can do to be helpful. And you know what? I'm not shy. For those who don't know, it's 617-872-8921. I'm going to put the ringer off right now so nobody messes with me on the show. But folks, you're always welcome to call me, whether you're an Anthony Buono or Amanda Zimmerman, or whether you just live down the block and there's something that you're concerned about. And, you know, maybe you're welcome to call Anthony Buono too, but I forgive him if he's not going to. You
absolutely are.
Don't shout out your phone number just yet. Get used to the job first. Folks, we're going to take a very quick break, and when we come back, I understand we have a correction to make with the school committee race. I haven't seen it yet. I'm as nervous as you are. But again, Anthony, thanks for coming on, and folks, stay tuned.
Thank you, and thank you, Brookline. Thank you.
Hello, Brookline. We hope you have enjoyed this live program on Brookline Interactive Group's cable channels. It was brought to you by our member, Tommy Vitolo, who has a show, TV on TV. We want you to know that you too can create a show at Big. Become a member, sign up online, and watch our orientation videos to get started. Big is your nonprofit community cable channel. Please stop by. We are located on the top floor of the Unified Arts Building at Brookline High School.
And we're back. And folks, I want to apologize. We made a mistake. We do our best to get it right, and we had a mistake with the graphic software, and I'm going to get to it right now. It's the school committee race. We had the right numbers, but we had the candidates shuffled, and so this is the correct results. In fact, FISA and Elite were switched. So FISA Khan, congratulations. In fact, you topped the ticket, and I apologize for not getting it right. Laura and Suzanne still second and third. Elite Schultz, not with enough votes to win. And so I apologize to Elite, I apologize to FISA, and I apologize to you, the viewers. We do our best to get this right, and the mistake's on me, and I own it. These are the results. Of course, everything's unofficial. The official results don't actually come for about a week. But folks should feel free to check with others. These are the results. And again, I apologize. I want to just remind folks, townwide, Amanda and Anthony, winners. We've checked those. We feel good about that, yes? Yes, we feel good about that. I just checked with the team. Library trustees, Chris Chaney-Salkett, Marissa Vogt, Amy Newell and Petra Binyami. And school committee, Faiza Khan, Laura Baines-Walsh, and Suzanne Fetterspiel. And of course, on question 1, yes, with more votes than no by a wide margin. So we're going to take another quick break, just to let me get to that corner. You know what? Why can't I just walk there? Can I just walk there? I'm just going to walk there. You watching? Look at that. We don't even need to take a break. Folks, we're gonna wrap it up quickly. My name is State Representative Tommy Vitolo, and you've been watching TV on TV right here on Brookline Interactive Group. I want to we've congratulated. I'm sorry, I got to catch up. I'm a little rattled by not quite getting it right. So I have some folks to thank. This show wouldn't be possible without a long list of people. Thank you to our on-show guest, Select Board Member Paul Warren, and to the Advisory Committee Chair, Dennis Dowdy, for talking about the town budget and what an operating override is all about. Thank you to the dozens of data collectors, the data operators, and to data emancipator, Emma Staff, data updater, Tim Wilson, and data relator, Dave Porter. Most importantly, thank you to the entire staff here at Brookline Interactive Group. This live program required hundreds of hours of preparation. Big doesn't just cover elections. Big covers our government. That work is what allows our town to operate at its full potential. Big deserves our admiration, our thanks, and our active support. That's why I was proud to secure a $50,000 earmark in the state budget for Big last week, and why I hope our town will find a way to fully fund Big in the years ahead. This election had a tax question on the ballot. Taxes are the price we pay for a civilized society, and we, the voters, get to decide just how civilized we want Brookline to be. And while Brookline's neighborhoods have very different views on this, there was broad agreement that the work done by the Expenditures and Revenues Study Committee was worthwhile, and that the town administrator, school board, select board, and town meeting would do well to find ways to improve the management of expenditures and to increase non-property tax revenues. On the expenditure side, let's be explicit. 80% of Brookline's non-debt exclusion expenditures are wages and benefits for employees. The bulk of the expenditure pressures aren't from the price of energy or the construction of bike lanes. They're from salary and, to a far lesser extent, healthcare costs. On the revenue side, we simply cannot build our way out of these budget pressures. Brookline would need a 4x increase in development each and every year going forward, with no increase in services associated with those developments, to fully build our way out of the budget pressures. And don't forget, since some buildings generate more tax revenue than cost, other buildings must generate more cost than revenue. Just as some kinds of development can diminish Brookline's budgetary woes, other kinds would exacerbate those challenges. To be clear, all government expenditures ought to be efficient and effective, and additional revenue from development as well as from local receipts would certainly help. Fundamentally, Brookline is an extremely well-run town, and Proposition 2.5 is too tight a constraint by design, created to force towns like Brookline to spend carefully and ask the voters to weigh in directly once in a while. It's easy to look at the time commitment our volunteers in local government make and think that it couldn't possibly work. And yet, although they don't always win, most incumbents run for re-election. Both town-wide positions and town meeting positions have competitive races more often than not. The candidates are diverse and dedicated, and these elections are democratic. Our town democracy remains healthy. This election drew increased interest and increased money. Between candidates, local advocacy groups, and unions, more money was spent on this election than any in recent memory, perhaps more than any in Brookline's history. That's not a bad thing. More resources allowed Brookline voters to hear more from both the candidates and about the candidates. There was also quite a bit of negative energy, not so much from the candidates as from their supporters. Assumptions, allegations, and exaggerations abounded. We're neighbors. Our government is one of broad participation, and poor behavior during election season poisons the well of government. And govern we must. Tomorrow, rest. But Thursday, all 292 volunteers in our town government had better roll up their sleeves because there's work to do. Most immediately, the budget. The override passed, but we have to pass a budget in town meeting, and not every detail is settled. The select board, school committee, and town meeting must also continue working to streamline processes, find additional revenue, and otherwise further improve our governance. To the candidates who came up a bit short today, thank you. Running for office comes at great sacrifice. Your sacrifice was not in vain because you helped create the very democracy on which our local government was founded in Provincetown Harbor on November 11th, 1620. I hope that you will find ways to participate in Brookline's governance on boards, committees, or commissions, and perhaps I'll read your name on the show next year. For the Brookline citizens chosen by our community today to lead, I say congratulations. I know that you'll work hard. Please remember that you're elected to represent everyone in our town. Citizens and non-citizens, owners and renters, drivers and bicyclists and walkers and T-riders, folks who agree with your campaign platform and folks who do not. Remember both your values and your fallibility. Learn more about our governance and our community from the news, the listservs, and directly from others in our town. Get outside of your WhatsApp group to expand your access to other viewpoints. Your perspective is a good one, and I promise you, it's not the only good one. When you vote in town meeting or on your townwide board, do your absolute best to weigh the multitude of perspectives and vote on the entire language before you, not just the title. For those who are watching and aren't directly involved with the town government, I hope you find some way to contribute directly to our community, be it a PTO, volunteering with seniors or teens, involvement in a house of worship, or something else that tickles your fancy. We've got a great town here. And for it to stay great, it needs you too. Thank you for watching the TV on TV Election Night Special with me, State Representative Tommy Vitolo. We did our best to get it right, and mostly we did call it right. We did make a really important mistake, and again, I apologize to Elise Schultz, I apologize to Faiza Khan, and I apologize to you, the viewers, for getting that one wrong. We corrected it just as soon as we figured it out. Stay tuned for a sneak peek of this season's Asian Flavors with Susan Park. Tomorrow, rest, and Thursday is for rolling up sleeves and getting to work. From Brookline Interactive Group's Intergalactic Headquarters, good night.
Hi everyone, I'm Susan Park, and here I am at Akami Restaurant at 187 Harvard Street in Coolidge Corner, Brookline. Today I have a special treat for you. We are here with Jam, the master chef, and he's gonna share and talk about omakase, what it is, and he's got a whole 9-dish surprise for you.
All right, hi, Susan. So nice to meet you guys. Welcome to Akami Omakase. So my name is Jam. I'm the head chef and co-owner at Akami Omakase.
So Jam, I am so excited because I know that this restaurant was under renovation for a good year or so.
Right.
And I heard that it was being renovated into an omakase space.
Yes.
And I've tried the food here, it's spectacular, so excited that you would be on my show. So tell us a little bit about omakase. Like, what is the concept behind omakase?
The concept is, so when I do some research in Boston, so they don't have any the reasonable price as the omakase experience. So my point is, so I just want to get, everyone as the first omakase try as the first experience. By the price is $99. So I would say like under $100, that's a good price, right?
Yeah, and $99 for omakase is a really great price. And the quality of the fish is so good. And you were telling me earlier that the fish had just come in today at 12.
Exactly.
So this is gonna be so delicious and fresh.
For sure.